in an old city bar that is never too far from the places that gather the dreams that have been. In the safety of night, with its old neon light, it beckons to strangers, and they always come in. In the snow, it had been falling. The neon was calling. The music was low, and the night, Christmas Eve.
And here was the danger, that even with strangers inside of this night, it was easier to believe. For it was into this bar that I happened to wander, to stare into a glass and my universe ponder. So I walked up to the counter, shook the snow off my coat, then I ordered a whiskey that I used like a moat. But an old man soon joined me and asked if I knew the time. One word led to another, and somehow I didn't mind. And I felt myself relaxing here among the ghosts that failed. Then the old man turned toward me and began this little tale. In the moments of our lives, both the joyous and the tragic, if the truth is to be told, we are all pursuing magic. And the magic that we seek, as we're sure you have discovered, can be found in certain places far more easily than others. And of all the nights throughout the year that come and gently leave, none hold the dream of magic like the evening Christmas Eve. And so it's on this night, with its promise deep within, as the snow now starts to fall, our story does begin.
An angel came down one night to the earth, a mission from God to find out the worth of everything that his children had done since that winter night, the birth of his son. And in a sound-filled night, in the cold winter air, and in the midst of the night, it was holding her there. And as she looked toward the earth for the source of the sound, on that cold winter night, it was pulling her down. To bring something back, this angel was told that no one could touch, but angels could hold. And so on that night, when the sky had cleared, among all the stars, an angel appeared. And in a sound-filled night, in the cold winter air, and in the midst of the night, it was holding her there. And as she looked toward the earth for the source of the sound, on that cold winter night, it was pulling her down.
The sound that she heard was the ringing of the bells, but now, inside the night, there were voices as well. Then she asked a village peasant, "What do Russian hearts desire?" He answered, "Peace on earth, of course, and a little stolichnaya."
Let the bells ring out these tidings. Let it echo across the land that a king is born in Bethlehem, and his kingdom is at hand. Let the world rejoice together as it looks upon the stars, knowing every man's our brother, and that every child is ours. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies. With the heavenly host proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. In the middle of a forest, there's a clearing by a stream, where a mother holds her newborn, and the child begins to dream.
As she flew over Sarajevo, there were scars upon the land. There were scars upon the people. It was hard to understand. And the deepest scars of all, which to humans are unseen, but the angel could clearly see, were the scars upon the dreams, like Belfast and Burundi and Rwanda, Palestine. The only decorations here had been awarded for their crimes. And in gardens where the children played, now soldiers only trod. And stranger still, she heard some say that they were killing for their God. Now the angel heard God speak many times, and she had always paid attention. But this killing of one's neighbor was something the Lord had never mentioned. But as she neared the earth of a recent battleground, from among the ruins, she once more heard the sound. It was a single cello playing a forgotten Christmas song. And even on that battlefield, the song somehow belonged. Then she reached for the song, and she held it in her hand. It was something that she did because angels can. And she wondered to herself, is this the answer that I sought? But something was still missing, or at least so she still thought. And so she journeyed on through the midnight winter air, when all at once our angel felt the touch of a man's prayer, and looking more once to the earth to determine whence it came, she felt 1,000,000 souls below, but one was not the same. For there she saw a man alone, though he was walking in a crowd, and though this man had rarely prayed, tonight his head was bowed. For even in a crowd, you see, a heart can feel alone when the night is Christmas Eve and a child is not at home. So from a father to the Lord, a prayer did swiftly race. But the angel saw it first, and she listened to its case.
There is an ornament lost inside the night. There on a Christmas tree with 1,000 lights. No one can see her.
After she had heard the prayer, the angel gently set it free and followed it to the Father's child in a faraway city. And there the girl in desperation was searching through the sky for a star that she could wish upon. But stars were in short supply. The only light that she could see there, shining all alone, was a neon sign on an old city bar. And so on this, she prayed to go home. Every light can be a star. It just depends on where you are and the distance you're looking. That's the places you have been.
In an old city bar that is never too far from the places that gather the dreams that have been. In the safety of night, with its own neon light, it beckons to strangers. They always come in. And the snow it was falling, the neon was calling, the music was low, and the night Christmas Eve. But here was the danger, and even with strangers inside of this night, it's easier to believe. When the door opened wide, a child came inside that no one in the bar had seen there before. And she asked it, oh no, that outside is
Then all at once inside that night, she saw it all so clear. The answer that she sought so long had always been so near. It's every gift that someone gives, expecting nothing back. It's every kindness that we do, each simple little act.
Christmas time on a cold December morning, all is calm and the world is still asleep. Christmas lights that have been caught with that warning gently glitter on stars to wish upon all the world is at peace. Christmas time and the year will soon be leaving. Lonely time till it's just a memory. Christmas days, if we don't forget its meaning. Days go quickly by, each day multiply. We go searching for thee. Christmas time and the moment's just beginning. From last night when we wished upon the star. And if this kindness we feel is just pretending, if we pretend long enough, never giving up, it just might be who we are.
And so it's good that we remember, just as soon as we've discovered that the things we do in life will always end up touching others. So from a fading neon star somewhere shining in the night, we find a Father far away, now reflecting in its light.
So tell me, Christmas, are we wise?
So the girl had reached her home, and the bar was closing down as the angel started back to bring her Lord what she had found.
That night through the sky, the time was short. She had to decide, and so as she flew back over the land, a gift for the Lord was there in her hand. It was the glow of light, was the heart of a song. Was the tear of a child where it never belonged? It was the wish of soul on that holy night, and the Lord smiled at her on that cold winter night.
So with the story over and my drink nearly through, I asked him, "Did this really happen?" He swore every word was true. Then he said, "I see you're puzzled, for your mind tells me you doubt me, that my story can't be true, but your heart tells you it might be." Then he asked, "Did it entertain me?" And I admitted it had charm. Then he said, "Perhaps you have learned something, or at worst I've done no harm." Then he rose up from his chair and he said it's time that he should leave. But may God keep and protect you this and every Christmas Eve. And I ran out to ask him back, but he was already gone. And stranger still, he left no tracks. So I walked back to my home, recalling all I've heard and seen. And for the first time since my childhood, that night, I dreamed a Christmas dream.
It had been a tumultuous time for Ashland Baptist Church, having survived a substantial split in its congregation only a year before, and not a few aftershocks in the time since. This church, in the midst of a budget crisis, decided to embark on a program larger than any ever attempted here, a production many, including those who worked from the beginning on its design, eventually thought impossible. This is the story behind Christmas Eve and Other Stories, a story of a group of people and their faith in God and each other, and the miracle that occurred during 4 days in December. This project was something that should never have been possible to do. I mean, I'd spent 23 years in television, had no theatrical background except what a high school play.
I did have some production experience in drama and theater when I was in college, but that had been a long time. So, but it all started coming back, you know, stage right, stage left. It started coming back later on.
The project, as we were trying to do it as musical theater, had never been done before. Christmas Eve and Other Stories has always been performed as a concert, and it's a rock opera, so it had been done like a rock concert. But the central theme of the story, we thought, was just so compelling that by being able to put visuals to it, people could then understand and even more fully appreciate this wonderful story. The story itself is unique in that it sort of combines the great commandment Jesus gave us before he left, love the Lord with all your heart, but then also love one another as I have loved you, along with the Great Commission.
Lost inside the night.
We started out 10 months before we did this with just a CD of the music and the liner notes, and the rest of it was just all faith. The idea I had in my head was to create just a multimedia event. With my background in television, I had video, live acting, dance, special effects. I mean, I really thought it should be something special. The problem is, we're in a church that's much smaller and congregationally than it had been just a year before. Was it possible?
Before I listened to the music, just the concept, I thought, this is going to be a lot of work. I don't know if I wanted to work that hard. And I felt like I don't know anything about any of this stuff. I've never done anything like this, and I don't know how much help I can be. Then I think it was the next day I listened to the CD, and I thought it was really awesome. And I thought, well, I still may not be able to help a whole lot, but I want to be involved in this.
Kathy and I and just a few others started meeting in February and went through the liner notes line by line and trying to figure out what things looked like. I mean, I had some ideas already in my head of what I thought was possible, and we didn't let we tried not to limit what was possible. We just put down what it should look like and then try to figure out how to do it. It's like, here's the story, how do we tell it?
I had a chart that was about 7 pages long of, well, the lights will be doing this at this time, and this is what people will hear. We took instrumental pieces, and John turned them into choral pieces so that there was something more than just music. We talked about, well, this is what they'll be seeing on the video at this time. We're going to have slides at this point. We need some actors to do this, and we had to dream all that up. And some things we just couldn't make work the way he'd thought of it, but we could adjust it and make it work.
As soon as the go-ahead was given, came another daunting task. The only hard copy of music for the score was a simple piano book. While it gave an idea of what the score should look like, it was far from an entire orchestral or choral score that would be required for the production. That had to be written note by note while trying to stay as close to the original sound and feel, though not knowing whether you would find anyone to play it. It took me 6 months to finish the score. And then the problem was, okay, I've written all these parts for these different instruments, trumpet, trombone, flute, and then of course the guitars, Our church regularly only had 2 keyboardists and a drummer. And I had written this orchestration not knowing we'd have anybody to play it. I put the word out to the congregation that I needed some instrumentalists, and we had a high school student who had played occasionally in the worship services. He played French horn. And he said that he would go and talk to some of his buddies in the orchestra at his local high school and see if they'd be interested. And the next Sunday, 10 of them showed up. And, you know, read into this what you want to. I mean, I really believe it was God's hand working. But when the people showed up, there were the exact number of instrumentalists we need for exactly the number of parts that I had written.
The script called for a lot of actors. We had an angel, we had the lead character, which happens to be a firefighter, Roger Holland. We also had a bartender, different actors, about 60 in all, and it just called for a lot of different things for them to do, and we didn't have them at the very beginning of the script, and so we had to recruit them from the choir, and that was another thing. The choir was so used to doing performances where they were up in the choir loft and they had their books in hand, and I had to teach them to actually sing and do acting all at the same time. So, but they did wonderfully. It really worked out well. The night before the main night that we had, Thursday night opening night, was a disaster. Dress rehearsal, but they always said if you have a bad dress rehearsal, you'll have a wonderful performance, and that's exactly what we had.
One of the things we tried to keep true to throughout the whole performance was in dealing with the historical scenes in this, that we try to keep them as historically accurate as possible. One of the very first scenes that actually came to fruition, actually we shot it in the middle of the summer. It was a scene that we knew was going to have to be shot on video because during one song we had to age Jesus from a baby to 3 years old, and just not something that we could have really done on the stage live. Went out for a month scouting about 9 sites, looking for a place that would sort of look like the bank of the Jordan River, or some place that we felt that Mary and Jesus, as a young child, as he was growing up, would probably go to get away from things and bond and have some fun together. And we found this beautiful pastoral setting behind a doctor's house in Clark County, and asked him if we could come and invade his property for a whole day, one day. And he was absolutely great about it. Thought it was just great. So the videographer we got to do this was a buddy of mine from the last TV station I worked at, David Browning, and he donated all of his time, did all the shooting of the video, the editing. There were about 7 different video projects in this piece, everything from the river scene of Mary and the 3 Jesuses to the comical, fun in the snow, to the hell on earth montage, and then there was even a scene in which we had to toward the end of the story. There's this heart-wrenching prodigal daughter story, and during the scene actually switches back from live to video several times during the scene, and that had to be timed out with live music that was playing, and it just talk about a brother with a big heart, man. It just came out. What a talent. The very first special effect that you see in the show, and the first challenge we had, was try to fly an angel from the edge of heaven and basically land her in our baptistry and not bore people, because it would take 3 minutes and 52 seconds to do that, because that's how long the song was. Rachel Short, we had knew early on, was going to be our angel, because she has the angelic look, she has an angelic spirit, she's just a sweet little girl. And we put her through the ringer, testing different types of things. We took her to a local TV station that donated their studio to us for some time to try to do a green screen to see if we could fly her against images of space and images of aerials of Lexington, and it looked kind of hokey. So we dropped that idea, and then still used the aerials, which a local pilot gave us his plane to fly some aerials at night. and we shot Lexington at night, which is just gorgeous. And so we brought her from heaven to earth through just good editing. And it was, I think, much more effective than the way we had originally thought. The very last scene being her slowly landing inside the sanctuary, and then the video screen rising to revealing her there live before you. And it was kind of really, really neat and effective.
There were some concerns about having a bar on the stage, and of course it had to go up a week or so in advance. We were going to be having worship services around the bar. In John going through the dungeons and attics of the building and finding things in storage, found this old beat-up pulpit that had been used by a former pastor who had been in a wheelchair, so it made it lower and it was wider. And we turned it around and it looks like a bar sitting there, a short one, but it looked like a really nice old bar. And we thought, oh, you know, people are going to be concerned about this. It's going to possibly offend people who were here then, and because of the associations. And we found some empty root beer bottles and some coffee flavoring syrups that were in beautiful bottles. It looked like liquor bottles. It wasn't, but some people assumed that it was and were upset. But then when we explained and showed them, then they were okay with it, or at least they were enough okay with it.
It also was enclosed in a theatrical scrim, which gave it a little more polished look in terms of a theatrical production, and allowed us to view the scene and then make the scene just automatically disappear through lighting effects, and so that it would then not distract from the rest of the story as was being told for the next hour. The other side of the stage was a set that was sort of a combination fellowship hall during one scene, but it also became a beautiful home during another, and then it was also the sort of rundown home of our prodigal daughter. And the set was very simple, just a couple of flats, and all of the wood and everything that we used to build the sets was donated by members of our congregation. And the guy who built it, the lead guy, Steve Stuckey, he is just a member of our congregation his trade is he's a custom cabinet maker. He's not quite a wall builder, but he and a buddy of mine, Richard Essex, local TV reporter here, came over and one afternoon took what had been donated and built these sets that we will be able to use over and over and over again.
We had a bunch of technical people helping. Nobody had ever done anything like this before. And a lot of people had never done anything, not only not of this caliber, but they'd never done lights before. They'd never done a lot of things. The snow machine was the one technical problem we never really worked out. We had, I think, a different setup every night. Aaron was very creative and very persistent about that snow machine, and what we gave him to work with didn't work. We also gave him a radio to hear the cues, and that didn't work, so had to give him a script and go through it with him, and he's up there in the dark trying to follow his cues as well as do work with the snow machine, and that didn't work. And so he kept up every night. He had a different idea about, well, maybe if we tried this, and he was duct tape and creativity, and every night he'd had something different, and it would be better than the previous night, but it still wasn't quite what we wanted. And then finally the last night he just gave us this blizzard that was too much of a good thing. But
when it was done on Sunday, I was relieved, but yet I was sad. When you're doing that and you get to be with all the people, the actors, I got to know a lot of the people in the church, and people I didn't know, and it was really touching to be with them, and to be with them for over a course of 2 weeks, pretty much day in and day out. And then Sunday you have this wonderful performance, then it's over, and you're just But what's a blessing is that you still have the friendships that you made throughout that.
This was just a great lesson in being able to set aside what talents I may have and just say, God, you know, if you want this, I'm here, use me. And I think throughout this entire production, from the 10 months up to it, we all thought, we all sort of hoped it would end up that way, but it was just a lesson in faith for 10 months that was life-changing.